Choosing a topic is the hardest part of the speech making process, hands down. I often have students spend weeks trying to choose the right topic. So do not delay in choosing the right topic. Ask yourself these questions when brainstorming on topics, okay? You always want to choose something that's important to you, because if you don't like the topic, your whole audience will know. So, what is important to me? Okay? What interests me? What excites me? What do I know a lot about? This is very important. What do I know a lot about? The worst thing that you could possibly do, particularly if you are huge on fear when it comes to public speaking, if you have large, big fears when it comes to public speaking, you want to make sure that you're choosing something that you know a lot about. You don't want to have to be learning too much. You don't want to feel like you're thinking too hard when you're giving a speech. Know what you're talking about, and that will help you a lot with your fears, okay? Your topic must also be relevant. Relevant to, because remember that this is about your audience, not really about you. You want to choose a good topic, but at the end of the day, you're talking to an audience and you are trying to affect an audience. So your topic needs to be relevant to them. Can they use it? Is it interesting to them? Is it useful to them? Will they have high expectations, and can you meet those expectations for that topic? You also need to be creative. Now, this is one that I struggle with my students with all the time. We arm wrestle on this all the time. I have students say to me, I'm not a creative person. Well, that's wrong, okay? Let me tell you the difference between people who say they're creative and people who don't, okay? People who say they're creative, such as myself, okay, we enjoy the creative process. I can stare at a screen for hours and come out with a beautiful sentence and be proud of myself for that one sentence. I enjoy the creative process, okay? People who don't enjoy the creative process don't give themselves the time to be creative because they don't enjoy it. So they're not going to sit at the computer screen, and they're not going to do the work that it takes to come out with that beautiful sentence. So they don't even get the satisfaction of being creative. You have to give yourself time in order to be creative, which means that you have to plan. Because if you don't plan, well, you won't have the time to be creative, especially if you wait till the last minute. So it needs to be creative. You will be graded on your creativity because your audience will know if you didn't put the time in to make it interesting and relevant for them. And creativity goes into that. It needs to be memorable, okay? Memorable meaning, is it easy to understand, and is it useful enough to be memorable, okay? Now, those are some things that your topic must be for your first speech. I want to also make sure that you understand the difference between a persuasive and an informative speech. Your first speech is going to be informative. Your second speech will be persuasive. It is important that one is informative and one is persuasive. A lot of times people sit down to write an informative speech and all of a sudden it turns into a persuasive speech. That can't happen, okay? Now these are some easy ways for you to make sure that you are aiming for informative rather than persuasive, okay? An informative speech achieves these goals. It stimulates interest, it facilitates understanding, and it increases the likelihood of remembrance. Okay? Those three things. That's it. You're not trying to influence the audience in their attitudes, in their values, in their belief systems. You're not trying to change the way that the audience behaves. All you're trying to do is feed them something, give them some information that's useful to them. It's up to them what they do with it, okay? Now, here's an interesting fact about informative speeches and persuasive speeches. Informative speeches never, ever, ever persuade. They never persuade. There's not an ounce of persuasion in informative speeches. Okay? A good persuasive speech usually has a whole lot of information. Okay? I'm going to put usually informs. I really can't think of a persuasive speech that I have heard or seen and was not highly informative, okay? In order to persuade someone the right way, takes a lot of informing. And there will be another video on persuasive speaking in the future. But these are definitely two things that you need to keep in mind. You never ever want to be persuading someone in a speech that is meant to be informative, because you set a goal to be informative, and that's it. You never want to leave out some good information when it comes to persuading, because educating your audience is sometimes the best persuasion. Okay? So some tidbits about how to choose the right topic and making sure that you are staying informative.